Hey guys, this is Nique and Ress, and this is She Wolf Alchemy. Today we're talking about dealing with grief.
Okay. I know, like, with the climate, with everything that's going on, a lot of us are dealing with grief. And it's not just like the loss of a loved one or a loss of a friend, but we are definitely dealing with that. But also the loss of things that you thought you would have done in the year. Like, I know when 2020 started, and we're now in 2021, but there's still some things I'm missing out on because of the pandemic. And I had to grieve that. Like, I know when 2020 started, I had so many vacations planned. I had so many things lined up that I wanted to do, and all that crashed. And if you think about it, we're breathing that as well. So today I want to talk about the stages of grief. I want to talk about my process of grief, and also just how to be there for, a friend when they're going through grief, and how you can best help yourself also.
All right, the first stage of grief is denial and isolation. So, typically, when we lose someone or something important to us, it's natural to reject the idea that the loss is actually true. In turn, we may isolate ourselves to avoid reminders that that person, that thing, that dream, that hope is no longer there. And during this time, others might want to comfort us to make us feel better while we're hurting and while we're still coming to terms with the loss. And for some of us, that can kind of make it worse sometimes, especially when you just feel the need to be alone. I know for myself, this is how I cope with everything, but this is one way I definitely deal with grief. I like to isolate. I need a lot of time to myself to recharge, to think about the situation by myself without anybody else's thoughts, anybody else's empathy, nothing that can cloud what I'm feeling. I want to feel what I'm feeling and I want to feel that completely by myself, and I want to have the time I need to feel those feelings solo before I invite other people in to grieve with me or try to help me through the process or be empathetic or anything like that. I'm definitely one of those people who is just like, let me grieve by myself. What do they call it? Is it my ugly don't like company?
I
Misery
think
loves
that's
company. Yeah, misery loves company. But it's like, no, my misery don't. My misery like to be by herself.
Yeah, I can agree. I know I have went through this with grief. I think I'm gonna be touching on, like, the biggest thing that happened to me was the loss of my fiance. And when it was like happening, even like I think I was grieving before he even passed, preparing myself for it, but I wasn't really in reality
Yeah.
because I had denial. I know he had cancer, but I'm like, okay, it's just gonna pass. And I don't think I isolated though as much at that time when he was still alive, but it was high denial. But once he had passed away, I did isolate a lot, a lot.
You didn't really have time to isolate when he was
Mm-mm.
still going through treatment and
No.
everything, because he has such a
No.
big support system. You had such a big support
Yeah.
system.
Mm-hmm.
You had just had your daughter, so I think a lot of us wanted to rush and be there to be like,
Yeah.
yeah, do you need something? Are you okay? Yeah, no, it's gonna be fine. And, hang at the house with
Mm-hmm.
you guys. So I guess to make it feel more
So I
normal
never was.
again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I never was alone though. That's the thing. I never had a chance to be alone
Hmm.
in this reality until it was times that it was just me and him in the hospital. And that's the time that he would like cry out. And then that's when it tried to hit me. But I'm still like, okay, I'm gonna be there for you. We're gonna, like, he was a Christian, so he wanted to pray it out. We pray about it. I'm gonna be there for you. I'm gonna hug, like, we're gonna talk about it. But I'm still like, you're still gonna be here though. You're
Yeah.
still gonna be here. I never like accepted it. So it was a lot of denial. But after he passed, it was a lot of isolation, and I think that scared a lot of people. Like, how do I be there for her? But I didn't. I just wanted to be around my daughter. I was living with my parents, but I even moved so I can just be with my daughter. So
Yeah.
I didn't want all that people around me
Yeah.
anymore. So I can relate to that part.
So can I ask you a question? When
Mm-hmm.
you were going through the process, because you were actively grieving while he was still alive, because we got to the point of hospice where,
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of like, this is going to happen. At this
Yeah.
point, we're waiting. Was it beneficial for us to be there during that time, or do you wish we would have stepped back and allowed you some alone time?
I appreciated you guys being around. This is gonna sound mean, but I didn't want his parents to be around so much. But I understand why they were.
Right, right.
But it's just like I just wanted time with him. I just wanted time to cuddle with him.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted time to be up under him because I didn't. But I'm to tell you the truth, I didn't accept that he was about to pass to the day before he passed.
Yeah.
Like he was on hospice, and I'm still like, no, he's not going anywhere. We're gonna get through this until I actually looked it up, what it was, realized that it's not a high chance of him living with this cancer. He's the longest. He was the longest person that lived with that cancer. At that point, he was the longest. So it's just like, oh, I came to realization. That's when I found out. But I just wish we had more time with just me and him.
Yeah.
Because you guys were there, but it wasn't like y'all were there 24/7, you know? It was a check-in to see how you doing.
Yeah.
Check in, give me food or get us food or call. But it wasn't like late, like at night when I just would rather just lay there and take it in. I didn't have that because it was even though he was my fiance, it was still awkward to do that in front of his family. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, you have some regrets. We'll touch on that too. But yeah, I kind of wish. I mean, they did so good. Like I don't know what we would have done, me and him without them there. But it's just sometimes I wish I was just with him by myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, again, that goes back to the kind of checking in with your people to see, because I think a lot of times we assume that, well, they're so broken, they don't know what they want, so I'm going to just do this. But sometimes just checking in with the person and saying, hey, I want to be there for you. I want to help you. How can I help you? Is it okay for me to cook for you and bring you food? Would that be fine? Do you want me to come sit with you guys? Because I don't think I did that either. I think when you were here in Atlanta.
Yeah. But you did your part. Like you picked me up from the airport. You fed me. You took me to where I needed to go. Like you did errands for me. Like you did stuff for me in that way. And that's what I appreciated. You probably was like, I don't want to step in the way. I don't want to step on her toes. But like, if I like needed something, that's what I'm calling Ress, because she's my person here. And I had family there, but you did stuff throughout, you know. So that one time I called you crying, like, I just want somebody to be here over here with me. He was like, why didn't you call me? He was like, I don't know. But yeah, like you tried, like you did your part. So that's, I appreciated that because I didn't feel alone. And sometimes, you know, we kind of moved our relationship very fast. So it was very fast paced. So we fell in love, we got pregnant, we got engaged, and then he passed away. So his family didn't get to know me on the level that he did. So it was still kind of awkward grounds with them, even though they appreciated me, they respected me. They didn't really know me on the level he did.
Yeah.
So I would rather had you around at that point.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah,
no, I'm thinking about like with me, I had a brother who passed away when he was 17 years old. At the time, I was a teenager. When that happened, I was like 13, 12. And I remember actually being isolated. And though I like to isolate when I'm home. It was very weird because one of my brother's death made the news. My mom was in the news a lot at that time. So then they associated with my mom on top of that. And it made me feel like a piranha, like people at school would just stare at me. And, you know, we were kids. We were in middle school. No one really knew what to say or how to act. But I remember it making it feel a million times worse. And I didn't want them to come up to me like, hey, I'm sorry, and give me a hug, because that also would have made me feel hurt. Like that wouldn't have worked. But I kind of wanted to go back to normalcy.
Yeah.
You know, and when normalcy feels too much, don't worry, I will remove myself. So I think for me, and that might be that denial part. I know I wanted to return back to normalcy when I went to school, when the funeral and everything was over. That's what I wanted, at least at my school. And I remember for like months after, no one knew what to say to me. And it was just awkward. The teachers didn't know what to say to me. They didn't call on me in class no more. It was just like, all right, do what you need to
Just give me
do.
A's. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. And that's another thing. Like denial can look like different things because I think that was
Mm-hmm.
my denial. My denial was like, okay, well now I must return to normal. It's like, well, things aren't normal.
Yeah.
Okay, you need time to process this. This isn't a
Mm-hmm.
normal situation, and it's okay for things not to be normal for a while.
Yeah. That's the same with me. I know after the funeral, I went back to work like probably the next week.
Yeah.
Why? Don't really know. I think it's because I had took out so much time before. And my normal was like, yeah, I'm gonna grieve this situation, but one day I might just move on. But that was denial too, because I'm denying the impact that he had on my life, and it's just like you can't just get over that situation. Like I
Yeah.
think I could get over so much stuff. I just told myself I'll be okay. I mean, I am okay, but it's just like I'm not the same person. I'm a whole different level of okay. My
Yeah.
new baseline is totally different than it ever was in my life.
Yeah.
So it's just like that was a denial. Like you can get through it, but I didn't think it would be as hard as it was.
Yeah.
Um, I
Yeah.
didn't.
Thinking life was just going to go on as normal.
Yeah.
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 I think that is one of the misconceptions with grief is that, okay, you have this period and it's a sad period and then you move on. It's like, no, the grief can stay with you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't
Yeah.
let it stop you. You have your periods where, yes, you need to regroup and feel it. But even once you're like, okay, I'm ready to get back in the real world, it can still be there months later, years later, decades later. Like
Mm-hmm.
my mom, it was my brother, but she lost her son. It was her firstborn. That was her
Yeah.
first
Mm-hmm.
love. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's a different type of pain. And, I think I
Right.
said this in another episode. So my brother was dark skinned, deep, deep, deep dimples, super white teeth, really, really handsome. And to this day, it doesn't matter if it's Wesley Snipes or if it's Lil Boosie. If she seen a dark skinned man, she gonna be like, "Oh, he look like Mag," and I let her have it now. I used to always be like, "No, he don't look like my brother.
Mm-hmm.
Please stop disrespecting my brother." Like,
Right.
but
Right.
as I was older, I had to understand like that was her baby, okay, and she
Mm-hmm.
still carries that because that was her child, and she loved him.
Yeah.
She had hopes for him. She had dreams for him. It's not only, kind of like you said earlier, it's not only a matter of grieving the person, but also grieving all the dreams and hopes you had with that person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's the part that hurt me even more than just the loss of him. Like
Yeah.
we both was Pisces, so we both was on our dream levels. Like we was in vacations that we want to go to together, and like what we want to do with the kids and this and that, and just to have it all taken away. Like we were trying to buy a house together. We were
Yeah.
trying to go to Germany and Italy together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like all of that, and now it's just like can't do it. I mean, I can still do it, but you're still gonna have that in the back of your head. You know what thing that a funny thing that grief is like you go through all the different stages at different times.
Yeah.
This literally happened to me over the weekend. I was thinking about what I want to do something for my birthday, and I was like, well, maybe I could take Journey my daughter to Cincinnati because that's where we met. I looked up and I was like, maybe we could stay in the hotel that we met at. I looked up and found that the hotel got demolished 2020 in March. And why did that make me so sad? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, my
like that
mouth
just
is
made
like
me
wide
so
open.
sad. Like so sad. And I was just like, it shouldn't make me that sad. But it did. And I'm like, that's where we met though. That's where he
Yeah.
turned around and looked at me, like was walking, turned around, looked at me, make eye contact. That's where we met. And I was like, I wanted to tell that story to my daughter. But guess what? Is the like that, like little stuff like that. Like you just don't know. You could be perfectly fine, and if something just hits you.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn. Now I gotta grieve that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But stuff like that is you go through the stages, and I think it's like none of them are in order, and it's sometimes never ending, and that's okay. It's not like you go through every stage like, okay, I'm done with all the stages. Now I'm good.
They are not a check off list.
Right. At all. At all. It's just something to realize that you're going through this,
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. So I can talk about the next stage, which is anger. In this stage, it's like when it's no longer possible to live in denial. It is common to become frustrated and angry. We might feel like something extremely unfair has happened to us and wonder what we did to deserve this. So basically, in this stage, you're just saying, why me? Like, why did I have to go through this? And you're just angry that you're missing out all this stuff that the plans are missing out on having relationships with that person or growing old with that person. That could be brother, child. Like, I can never imagine losing my child or my sibling, and I know some people can't imagine losing their spouse. Yeah. So this is just where the anger comes in, and I think everybody in grief goes through anger. Yeah. That's probably like the very first one.
Yeah.
For me.
I agree with that. With me, it was definitely anger came. I was angry with my brother. I was very angry with my brother because I felt like, what was you even doing there?
Yeah.
I did go through the period where I was like, what were you even doing there? You had no reason to be there. Me and my siblings, like, don't get me wrong, there was a period of time where my parents were still building themselves up, building up their career and so forth. But by the time I was like 5, my parents were pretty well off. And we grew up upper middle class. Middle class. And something I noticed that happens a lot, especially with Black men that grow up upper middle class. A lot of times you'll find some of them struggle with trying to associate their Blackness with hood stuff.
Right.
And then feeling guilty about their being brought up in a upper middle class environment. And I think when middle class is normal, but like when you're in an upper middle class environment, it's almost like they rebel against it. And both of my brothers did this. And and it's funny because they bounce back and forth. They definitely my parents went out of town. They took the Benz around to show off to girls. But, when it came to like their friends, I think I always had the feeling they put on to feel more hood than they are. And they weren't hood. We weren't hood. Like my brother today swear up and down he hood. He's not. We weren't hood. We weren't raised in a hood. And my brother, he left the house when he was 17 because he wanted to do his own stuff. He wanted to do his own rules. He got his GED and then he moved back home to date. And that's what he wanted to do. And messing around with the wrong people, getting involved in the wrong stuff. And my brother was shot. And one of the things I remember talking to my mom about, and I think we were just both angry, was like, he got shot and he got shot in his leg. He was running and he jumped into somebody's car because the people were still shooting and he bled out. And it's like, if you were hood, you would know that you could have took off your bandana and wrapped it around your leg.
Wrapped it around there.
Yeah, to slow the blood.
Yeah.
If you were in the hood, like there's certain things, survival skills that if you really was running the streets with shooting and all that stuff, there's certain things you would have picked up on. But you weren't a shooter. You were never supposed to be a shooter. You were never supposed, that wasn't your life. So I went through a period where I was very angry with him because I was like, we got parents that pay for all of our undergrad. Their only rule is keep a 3.0 and they will pay for our undergrad. They will pay for our housing expenses. They gave us $150 gas cards every month. And they gave us $100 like Kroger card, gift card. So it was like, for real, they made it easy for us to succeed. And I remember just being so mad because I'm like, so you didn't have to do this. Why did you choose this? And then, as I got older, I had to realize like, he was a teenage boy, just like us teenage girls, there's certain things we feel pressure for. We felt pressure to have designer stuff. And there was no reason for a 15-year-old to have Louis Vuitton, but we felt pressures to keep up. We felt pressure to do a lot of stuff, and I had to realize it's just a different type of pressure for boys, and he didn't know any better. There's a lot of young boys that go through that phase, and they live to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, even the person we both know in common, like, he don't have to do that too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it's just like, I didn't understand that either. I don't understand that. Like, I guess it wasn't for us to understand. Like you said, we have other pressures that
Yeah.
we have to be pressured to.
Yeah.
But even like the anger, for me too, I went through, like, it was anger. It was never anger to him, because it was like nothing he could have done about it. But I wish that when he told me he had it, he told me it was stage it was in, instead of just saying, briefly, I have it. You can ask me any question you need to ask me about it. I'm here to answer them. No, you should have just told me the stage right then. I think I would have operated different. So it wasn't like angry at him. Was he coming that changed the fact that he had cancer? But I just wish he would have been honest more, so I could have played my part and just been there around him longer, instead of going back and forth. I would have just stayed there until the end.
Yeah.
And try to get through it as best we could. I would have just operated differently.
Yeah.
I hate to say this out loud, but it kind of made up like my trust, like, in God. Like, it made me question, like, okay, sir, up there, I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing. Like, I was like, you see me, I was at my best. Like, that was my best. Best every way. Like, I was bomb. And it's just like, okay, now he's taking it away. Like, what what is the purpose in this then? What's the purpose?
Yeah. Why let me get a taste of happiness and then take it away?
Yeah. So I had anger there. It's just like, I had anger in a lot of people and a lot of things. Like, low-key, his parents, like, y'all knew this was stage, but nobody didn't tell me. Like, I'm just feeling like blindsided. It was just a lot of anger.
Yeah.
And
because when it initially happened, we thought it was still something that could be fought.
Yes.
Because I remember me and you went wedding dress shopping together.
Yes. And I guess, I mean, that's the thing too, like, they probably didn't think it was, their faith in God was leading them to, like, not feel that he was going to go. But I tell you, I still feel like I had a right to know something. So, yeah, it was just anger all places. And I don't think he would have had stopped me from finding a wedding dress, as I think he felt he was going to beat it too.
Yeah.
He had no doubt he wasn't. He was so positive.
He was.
I actually had bought one. I don't know when I'm going to look at that dress again, but I bought one when I was in Dayton. But it was like a little cheap one, like if we were going to go to the piece.
Yeah.
And I had bought that, but yeah, I'm glad I didn't buy one of those nice ones we looked at, because they were beautiful. Yeah, but I'm just like, it's just like, it was anger about a lot of stuff, and just knowing I would have wanted to move differently. And even though my daughter couldn't remember all those moments, it would have been more pictures, or I would have went harder. I would have had somebody come and take a professional. She gonna have this one picture with him, like professional picture with him. Because she craves that now. I would have operated differently. So I think that's what my anger lies, just being not totally informed. I understand why. I understand all parts. But I just wish I knew more, or angry at myself even for not asking, because I could have asked too. Like, so can you tell me what's the stage? I tried to go to the doctor's appointment. He wouldn't even let me go. I don't think he wanted me to worry, but it's just like, sir, I need to know.
Oh, that was definitely it.
Yeah,
that was definitely it, because when you came up for my graduation.
Yes.
Yeah, because you were acting very much like Nique that day. And I think definitely if we knew.
Too, but I really wasn't. Yeah. I didn't know. Like, if I knew a stage, I went to the graduation. Like,
But we didn't know, because he did make it seem nonchalant. Because even when we went to go pick him up from the hospital, he was like, "I just need y'all to pick me up because they won't let me drive." He was like, "Just drive me to my car."
Driving.
Yeah, but we didn't know.
That's the thing too. Like, if you think about, I hate to keep bringing about the Pisces, but that's some stuff I would do too. Like, I just don't be want people to worry, or don't. So I just do. Like, we were like the same way in a lot of ways. But sir, they wouldn't let you drive because, And later on, after we had Journey, he had that same procedure, and I don't even know how he got home, because I had to drive him home, and he was so weak after those procedure things.
Yeah.
So he was like, I mean, I know he was a strong black man and he gonna provide for his family and be strong. But sir, you can ask for help too. It was just like stuff. I loved him for his for him being that strong, but I still was like, sir, could you inform me on a lot?
Yeah.
But yeah. So I'm sure that's another stage. I don't know if that's a stage like to think back on it, shoulda, coulda. What is it? That like denial or?
Well, I think there's regret. I think it is important because it shows the different types of anger as well. Like there's anger at not just being aware of the full situation, because now you would have acted different, you would have done things differently, you would have realized the severity of the situation. There's anger at, especially if someone dies in a way that you feel like can be prevented. There's anger like, why did you do that? There's anger like, I don't understand. Why did you keep making these choices? Why did you blah, blah, blah?
Yeah.
And, and then there's anger at the universe. It's anger at God, whoever your God is. Or if you believe in the universe or astrology, whatever you believe in, there's anger at that of, why me or why them?
Why taken away? Yeah.
Yeah. I know with
but you could be like, this is something I meant. Like if you say the universe, this is something I manifested, this is something I was steady with, blah, 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 and it still get taken away. So it's just like,
yeah,
it could come from so many ways.
Yeah. But okay, we're going to go on to the next one. The next stage is bargaining. So basically, in this stage, we might somehow seek to change the circumstance of the situation. For example, a religious person whose loved one is dying might try to have some type of negotiation with God. Like, if you keep them alive, I promise I'll go to church every Sunday. I promise I will not let my eyes cause me to sin. I promise that you go through that bargaining stage. And I think that can help people feel ease while they're grieving. It's almost like a coping skill because it makes you feel like, well, maybe there's a chance. Maybe there's a ritual. Maybe if I, every time I open the door, I touch each finger on each side of the doorknob before I open. There's people that have these type of like tics where if I do something on one finger, I have to do it to all my fingers to feel even.
Yeah.
And so you know what I'm talking about. So for some people, it's a matter of like, if I touch this door with one finger, I got to go touch it the same way with all my fingers. And for some people, they just have to do that to feel balanced or even. But with other people's, it's like a ritual. Like this, before I leave my house in the morning, I have to go to the bottom of the stairs, clap twice and turn around to make sure I leave the home safe and come back safe. If I do that before I leave, I know I'm going to be safe. If I forget to do it, oh my gosh, I forgot to do it, there's a chance I might not come home today. With bargaining, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, if I do this, it's going to give me a chance that they stay. I'm going to pray every day. If I fast during every procedure they go through, and I fast, I clear my mind of media of any form, and I just focus on the Lord and them, and I did it to a T. It makes you feel better, like, okay, there's a chance. Because I held my part of the deal, God. I held my part of the deal, universe. I have not been through bargaining. This is not one I have been through. Yeah, I don't think this is one I have been through. What about you?
I don't think I have. I know I prayed way more the whole time, like every day. And then I was like, wait, I didn't pray today. I got to hurry and pray because I think I was like, and that's probably why I was so angry. Like, sir, you not see me praying this whole time. But I was pissed. But just like, I think I was bargaining. I think even his parents probably was. They probably was fasting and everything.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, we got to get through this. Like, it's not real. It's not. Yeah, I think I did have some bargaining in the situation. I mean, we were celibate since I had Journey till he passed.
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't nothing that we was practicing before. So just like,
I mean, hence Journey.
Yeah. Correct. So yes. So just like we prayed, like we did everything. Like we like listened to, we was manifesting, talking everything. So I think we did try that, but I don't know how that works afterwards. Like after you lose someone, how the bargaining thing works.
I think with some people it can shake your faith because you feel like
Mm-hmm.
I did my part. Why didn't you hold up your end of the deal?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and you can go and
Mm-hmm.
find scriptures that was like when two or more are in agreement, we
Mm-hmm.
had the whole church join
Yeah.
hands and
Know
be
how
in
many
agreement.
times my church prayed for him? Like it's just
Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think you go through that. I think can lead back to that anger because you're like, I did
Mm-hmm.
this. I did my part. Why didn't you do your part?
Mm-hmm.
And I think with others, it can just create a loss of faith in whatever they believe in because there's like the one time I really need you to come through, you didn't come through. So what's the
Yeah.
point of this?
Mm-hmm. It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's me. So the next one we talk about is depression. Of course, that's a huge one.
Mm-hmm.
That's when like the sadness just becomes so overwhelming. Not being able to wake up, or just want to sleep a lot, or you're coming to terms with the death and there's like nothing you can do about it, and that's like an uneasy feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the worst feeling ever, actually, to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna go ahead and read it. It says, in this stage, we feel the full weight of our sadness over the loss. Feeling extremely down in the wake of a loss is normal. However, it's important to be aware that clinical depression is different from grief. I never thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought about that?
Yes. So when I used to see clients one on one in a more clinical setting,
Mm-hmm.
that's something I had to talk about with clients, not just with grief, but with different things, because sometimes clients would get sad and be like, and I'm depressed. And I would let them know, like, no, you are rightfully sad because a sad thing happened. And you're
It
allowed to
happened,
have
yeah.
that. It doesn't have to mean depression. You are allowed to be sad, and that
Mm-hmm.
the situation matches why you're sad. That is a normal
Yeah.
human behavior. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I guess that is right. But I guess that's all it's saying about it. Like, just know the difference between being clinical depressed and if it's just grief. But how do you? But the grief can turn into depression, right? Clinical
Yeah.
depression.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it definitely can. I mean, definitely there's people who go through grief and then they never get out of the stages. They never get
Mm-hmm.
to the acceptance. And I
Okay.
think when
Yeah.
it's prolonged and you go through that, that's when it hits depression.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes I did hit that spot, but it wasn't nothing that I stayed in.
Mm-hmm.
I might go to a different stage, but me, one thing I did was seek grief counseling, so that
Yeah.
helped me personally. But we can talk about it later. But I know I had parts of depression, but it was hard for me to sit in my depression because I had a whole child.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good I had her in so many reasons, so many ways, because if I didn't have her and I was to lose him, one, I probably would have wowed out in a hole. Like, I would have probably wowed out. I think I would have wowed out in that way. Or I would just, I wouldn't have motivation to do much after that.
Yeah.
Or I would be able to be depressed without anybody bothering me because I don't have a child. And I was
Yeah.
living with my, I don't know. I probably wouldn't have been living with my parents if I didn't get pregnant, but I probably would have been living with my roommate and wilding out and just being in my room depressed.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a good idea to have her, but it took away from me mourning my situation and like really being able to grieve. So it's like hiding your depression, but still having to do your daily things.
Yeah.
It was very hard to try to do both. So.
Yeah. Well, also, it wasn't even just that you're a mother. You were a new mother, a first time mother. Your daughter was only a couple months old.
Mm-hmm. 5 months. Yeah.
So that creates a whole other situation, when you have someone that passes, but you have a 5-year-old, but you have an 8-year-old, but you have a 12-year-old, that's different levels of functioning. But my child is still breastfeeding. you know.
Yeah.
And while that can be good because I have someone to hold and so forth, it can also be stressful because one, we have postpartum depression already. That's something that we have to look out for. And then you're going through this sad thing, you are breastfeeding. So now that's already nutrients that you are no longer having.
And you have to eat to keep up that. And I wasn't even eating.
And that's
I
exactly what I was
lost
about to
so much
say.
weight. So much weight.
I was like, and you were not eating.
I was so skinny and I wasn't trying to be.
Yeah.
She was taking every little nutrients out of me. And when she wasn't nursing, I was sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So depression is a part of it. It can be a part of it, but I think depression is more when it is prolonged. It is more when you don't allow yourself to ever get to that acceptance phase. Also with depression, especially if we're talking about clinical levels of depression, this is more than I'm sad. This is now, I don't take pleasure in things anymore.
Yeah.
I don't take pleasure in hanging with my friends. I no longer take pleasure watching movies. I no longer take pleasure in listening to my favorite podcast, getting my nails done, keeping up my appearance. That's another big one with depression. And you notice someone who's usually up on their appearance and all of a sudden they no longer care. Sleeping a lot. Just sleeping through the day. I can't get out the bed. And again, some of this is a normal part of grieving. But once it starts becoming prolonged, because after a while, you should be able to you should be able to go to work. It's not saying it's not going to be hard, but you should be able to go to work. You should be able to slowly start getting back into your life. And again, it can be slow, but it should start when you are noticing like, hey, it's been like 6 months and they still can barely get out of bed. That's when it's like, okay, so now we need to look into other options. Now we need to talk to a professional, and this is beyond grief. This is beyond grief counseling. This is beyond family coming over to be with you, to talk to you. All those things are great and you can keep all those things, but after a certain level, and there's kind of like a failure to relaunch type situation, that is when it's like, okay, so now I am taking this on in a different way, and now we have to approach this in a different way.
And it becomes like more, it becomes like they said, clinical. Yeah. There's different ways of getting through this. But so if they were to, I don't know. So they went and they said, oh, it's clinical depression, so we got that part under control. Could the grief still trigger them to get back to that clinical, like even if it's under control?
No. You know what? Depression is like one of the areas I'm trying to specialize in. And so it's like one of the areas I read up on a lot, I try to practice with. That's my clientele base that I actually ask for. With that, if we're talking about getting things corrected on a clinical level and we're talking about medication, one of the biggest things I want people to understand when it comes to antidepressants aren't there to make you not sad. That's not their job. Antidepressants' jobs are to make sure you never hit that ultimate low. You're still able to feel sad on antidepressants, but it should be a manageable sadness. It's to keep you from hitting your rock bottom with your sadness. That's what it's supposed to be there for. It's to help you start functioning again. You might still have sad thoughts. You might still have moments that come back and that flash from the past and so forth, and it makes you sad. That is still going to happen, and antidepressants aren't there to stop that. If you find yourself on antidepressants and you're like, no, I don't feel anything anymore, talk to your psychiatrist or seek out a new one because you're on too much. Because it's not supposed to numb your feelings. That is not clinically helpful. It's just supposed to be there to make sure that you don't get so low and then you can't come back up from that low.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just wondering.
Yeah. Like when I'm still sad, and he was like, yeah, but you're not suicidal, so it's working. I'm like, okay.
I'm just letting
Okay,
you know
sir.
it's working.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so number 5 is acceptance. So with this one is eventually you're going to come to a part in your grief where you're basically coming to terms with it. It's kind of like this it is what it is type moment. You accept it. It does not mean that you're no longer grieving. It does not mean that you no longer have flashbacks or moments of just sadness that floods you. This is more for I now accept that this happened. I accept that this person is no longer here. I accept that I can no longer have this dream. I accept that this thing that I hope for it's a dead situation and it's not going to come to fruition, and I am no longer being angry with it. I am no longer going to be in denial about it. I'm still allowed to have my feelings about it, but I now am understanding that this is where we are at, and I have to accept that this is where we are at. I have to accept that my brother is not coming home. I have to accept that at family reunions, he's not going to be there to be in the life of the party anymore. I have to accept that my daughter won't get to know him personally. And it's not to say, again, like you said earlier, it's not to say you can't. It's not like I accept, so now I can never feel depressed about it again. It's not that I accept and I can never feel anger about it again, but it's not like us anger that you stay in. It's not depressed that you stay in, because those feelings can still come back. We all have memories that trigger different things, but it's because you accept it. When those feelings come, you let yourself feel it, and then you're able to return yourself back to your baseline.
Right. That's the same thing. Like, I have accepted it. Like, I accepted that I don't have him here, or that he doesn't get to watch Journey grow, or just be there for me like he was, or that we can't travel or do anything. But it's hard for me to accept that some days, because some days I still do get angry, like, but there's nobody else out here like him. Like, but I don't want to try this anymore. Like, and I get so angry, or it hits me harder when I'm around his family, because we love each other so much. And it would just be like, a lot of people can't say they love their in-laws, but how much we love each other, and how much he would just been the missing puzzle to complete. And that stuff, like, it gets me. Like, it's always, every single time I see them, it's a bittersweet. Because first of all, his dad looks just like him.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
Now, yes.
He
and
is
now
his
his
father's
son does
twin.
too. Yes. And then his son, it's just like, I almost cried looking at, because it's just like seeing him and just knowing that he would have been a great dad. Yeah. So it's acceptance. Yes, definitely acceptance, but it still doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
At all. And I have to accept sometimes when I see kids run into their dad, like, even sometimes like that stuff makes me angry. Like, now that, they have a dad, it's just like, I just wish she had what they have. And yeah. So it's a lot of acceptance and anger. I think those were my two. Because I accept it very much so, but it's just like, and I don't want to, even when like trying to date, it's hard to come up. I don't know how people think that I feel about it, because I pretty much do think I accept it. I'm like, okay, it's time to move on. But I don't know how I'm putting my energy off though either. So
yeah. I think there was a long time where you just didn't want to. You felt you had to. You felt like it was time. I don't know if it's because others were telling you like to get back out there, or there was time, but you didn't like it. You really didn't like it. I would be like, oh, how did it go? You're like, I mean, okay. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. And we would talk, and I'm like, it's because you really don't want to. You're not ready. You don't really want to. I think,
I have my highs and lows with that though, because I think I'm
yeah.
back to there. Like I don't want to anymore.
But you're keeping that to yourself now. You're not putting some poor fellow through that right now.
That is true. That is true.
So there's that. But I think now you don't. I think you give off a great balance. I think now you get off a really great balance because you are aware. One of the
Mhm.
things I will say that I actually think was good for you, a situation I wish never happened, but one of the positives I can say, because the universe said this is what was happening, one of the things I have noticed is like now you don't put up with no bull.
Mhm.
Like when you're dating, you don't put up with no bull.
Mhm.
You now recognize, like, I know what it's like when I'm loved now.
Yeah.
I now know what it's like when
Mhm.
someone really loved me. I know how a man really acts when he really loved me. And now you're
Mhm.
very much, this ain't how a man who love me act. Goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not
And I'm
only
good for
that,
like yeah. Mm.
yeah, I think he definitely came into your life. He definitely showed you what good, true, healthy love looks like.
Mhm.
And because you were able to experience that, going forward what good healthy love looks like, and when it don't feel anything close to that, that's not what you want, because now that's possible. That level of
Mhm.
love is possible.
Mhm.
That level of trust is possible. That level of forgiveness is possible. That level of unity is possible.
Mhm.
So now I feel like when you're dating and you're meeting guys, I've definitely seen that change in you where you're just like, no, because I know this
Mhm.
is not, um,
I just the faces and everything like
yeah.
okay, I'm just gonna delete you off of my social media and my Bumble account. Like, because we're done with this. Yeah. No, for real. Like, I don't know. I have low tolerance. And it's just like you can't do half it. You can't half ass nothing with me anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
No, this isn't real. I know how it feels. Let's not sugarcoat. You don't no. Which makes me like it is it that's another thing that makes me angry because I'm like, so when am I gonna find the real? Because it's a lot of fake around here.
Look, ma'am,
And that's
ma'am,
irritating me now. Like,
look,
bruh.
look.
I'm still holding out for the right one because he taught me very well. But
When you know what that looks like, or what that feels like, I
mm-hmm.
have no idea what a healthy relationship looks like. I have not been blessed in that area. I'll admit, though, I am probably the biggest person stopping that from happening. But I can't even blame the men on that. That's like an 85% chance me. But I do know I have felt with someone where it's like, oh, I am actually, 'cause you know what? For a long time, I didn't think I was able to connect with people on that level. Like I always thought, like, oh, I always have a like friend level, nonchalant level. I can always detach from you level. And I just thought, like, that's me. Unfortunately, that's just life for me. It's fine. I'll marry somebody who
Mm-hmm.
loves me, and I'll be like, you're okay. And like that's how I always thought it was gonna happen for me. Always. And so when I did, I got to experience someone who did come in my life, and I think that was the only purpose of them coming in my life, was to prove to me, like, hey, no, you are able to have this. You are able to meet someone, and it feels like butterflies. You are able to
Mm-hmm.
meet someone, and it feels happy, and it feels like you're on the same page, and it feels like, oh, this is what it's like to actually really want to build with somebody. Oh, this is what it's like to want to compromise for a person. This is
Yeah.
what it's like to want to lay down your sword for somebody. And so, anyways, I say that to say, one of the good things is like you were able to experience that. And I think it has helped you. And I think it has prepared you for the type of love you deserve to have.
I
So
definitely
even though
think.
you didn't get to have it with him for a long period of time, and we want you
Mm-hmm.
to have it with him for a long period of time, he did leave you with the gift of knowing that's possible.
Yeah. Along with the child that I
Yeah.
I always wanted a child, and I kind of asked to like, what was the purpose? But I think he taught me so much. I
Mm-hmm.
could see the purpose, and I could kind of see my purpose in his life too. Like he had problems with love too,
Yeah.
and so when he met me, and it was so easy and it was so free flowing, we both found like love in a whole different way than we ever experienced it before.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that was a purpose for both of us. But it just makes me mad. Okay, I get that purpose, but can I have longevity with my purpose?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, but I definitely think that, like, yeah, I mean, he was a divorcee. He was the only dad, single dad, primary custody. It's just like,
He was such a
you
good
have,
dad.
yeah, he did.
He
He
was such
was.
a good dad. I would come over to his house with you, and his house would be so clean, and I'd be like, "Don't he got kids that live here?"
Only because I was in town. Because he would go to work and I'd be like, ugh. He'll clean up me when I got there. But girl, if I wasn't there, that house was not clean. Even his parents said that. It's like, he really cleaned up for you? Yes, he better. Barefoot and pregnant over here. But yeah, so I mean, I understand the purpose. I understand it. And it definitely did like make me a stronger person. Like, who knows? I mean, I would have been strong, I would have been great, but who knows if I never had that connection or never went through all of the stages of loving him, would I be the person I am today?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to touch on briefly just a few things you can do to work through your grief. Number one is just take your time to mourn. Of course, it isn't going to be anything easy trying to get through it. So don't feel the pressure to, I can only grieve for right now, but I have to get back to work. I have to get back to family. So just taking your time to mourn and getting through it and just being honest with yourself and going through the stages and doing what makes you happy to get through those things. But just take your time and don't like rush the process.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel like you want to cry, you feel like you want to scream, do those things.
And understand it can come back and forth. You can be okay and then grieve, and then okay and then grieve, and then okay. It can happen sporadically, and allow yourself to grieve even when it happens on those sporadic moments, instead of just be like, no, I'm not gonna think about this, I'm over this, I already dealt with this. I'm talking to myself here because this is something I was dealing with earlier.
Yes.
I kept saying, no, I'm over this, I'm no longer mad about this, I'm no longer sad about this, I'm not going to cry about this anymore. But one is going to keep coming back, so it's like you might as well at some point.
You might as well.
Yeah.
And for me, when I didn't take my time to mourn, it came out in the most destructive way. Like, not destructive. I mean, I had a freaking panic attack while I was driving, so it could have ended destructive. But it's just like I was holding so much in. I never took the time. I just kept going. It's going to pop back up. It's going to pop back up. So feel those feelings when you want to feel them. Like, cry when you want to cry. Don't hold it all in, because it's going to pop back up in different ways. It's going to show its ugly self. So let's just take the time to mourn, to get through it, because they're going to keep coming up. Even like with you, it's going to keep coming up. And so yeah, that's what I'm gonna say about that part. Number two, remember how the person impacted your life. And I guess we already touched on this, at least in my situation. I think about those things often, because I was always a go-getter, or thinking I had to put all this stuff on. I think I have to get all this stuff done. Even before a child, I was always like putting so much on myself and running myself to death. I remember he always told me, like, you don't have to be Superwoman. But I always felt like I had to be Superwoman. So I just remember like little things he would tell me, and the ways he impacted my life, to think positive and not think negative all the time, and not overthink, not overanalyze. So every time I think of him or I think about my growth, I thank him, like, or I just like silently say thank you, and I smile. And I remember that I still have a piece of him, because I still have so much knowledge and so many lessons he taught me inside of me. So that's how I do it. So if you ever lost somebody, you can do that same thing. Sorry, I'm just making it about me at this point. But yeah, I just think that's a good thing to do. Like, just remember, like, you can remember things they taught you, remember ways they loved you, remember things you used to do with each other, remember the things they brought into your life. Those are all good things to remember a person when you're going through grief of losing a person.
Can I just say though, yes, let's specify grief of losing a person, because earlier we did say of different things. If you are grieving a relationship, especially if it was a toxic relationship, do not continue to speak about it.
Do not. These things are grieving a person. Like, if it's a toxic relationship, no. But then it can be like, I'm trying to think of anything else, because some people can even like grief of losing a job,
losing your career.
I guess you can remember the thing you learned from that job to get you to the next one. I mean, you can relate it in different ways, but toxic person, no.
No. I felt we need to say that before any of our followers end up stalking somebody outside their house, talking about, I'm continuing to speak to you and remember you. Ress and Nique, first of all, I see that on the news. I'm pulling down all the podcasts. Y'all ain't gonna find us.
No, we're not gonna find us. No, we did not say that. We did not.
Look.
Yes. And another way is continue their legacy. I think I personally have done this in a way.
Definitely have.
Yeah. Reminded my daughter of her father in every way. Like, when it's his birthday, we do something special. When it's the anniversary of the death, we do something special. Like, she knows so much about him for him to have passed when she was 5 months, but she knows so much. She knows his first, last, middle name. She knows like his favorite color. She knows stuff he liked to do. She it's like she can visualize the memories because we talk about them so much, or we see pictures so much. Like,
and you do such an amazing job at keeping up with his family. Like, you are in constant contact with his parents and his children from his past marriage. Like, you make sure they see each other. You make sure that everybody gets phone calls, text messages, pictures. Yeah. And she has her teddy bear too. With his voice.
She finally like loves the teddy bear because she was kind of young when she first got it. But so I just try, because I just know for me, I was close knit with my family, and I just want her to feel some type of normalcy with it. So I agree with that. Do you have anything on that? Continue the legacy.
Kind of the same thing. I know when my brother passed, my other brother, his first child, he named him after my brother. That was a big thing. If you go through any of our family members' house, all of us have at least one big picture of him somewhere. I actually have a picture of him and my aunt that passed. They actually passed like a couple months from each other. Is downstairs in my living room. I still have like my tea of him. Every year on his birthday, I post a collage of pictures of me and him. And I'll add new ones to it every year or so, and it'll just be all the pictures from our childhood of me and him. And my favorite one is one in the middle with me in my high chair and him just like hugging me and kissing on me. And first of all, I was too big to be in a high chair. Let me just clarify. I was definitely like 6. But for whatever reason,
like the picture that I seen, he was loving on you, but you was not no baby.
No, I don't know why. Every now and then I look back at old family pictures and I'm like, this is why we all in therapy. Like, I just like this and all the neon. This and all the neon prints. I was definitely like too old to be in the high chair, but I was for whatever reason, and he loved me. He was loving on me. So definitely things like that. One of the things I have always said I wanted to do is start a scholarship for Black males in my brother's name in his honor. That's something I've been wanting for a while now. A sister just got to get money. Like, when I start and I have money to do a scholarship, it's going to be the first scholarship I start.
Actually, the exact same. So whenever we both become rich, we're gonna be making like, excuse me, did you do your scholarship? Because we're about to do our scholarships. It's the same. I want
next year when we are starting to make our 6 figures. we're gonna start
Mm-hmm.
the scholarships.
So I
Yeah.
want a scholarship, and I want a scholarship to serve like spouses who have lost spouse for their children,
Yeah.
to go to school. And I already had like a name to it. It was going to be like Zay's Kids, and to give scholarships to people who lost their parents to cancer.
Yeah, that would be dope.
So,
That
but
would be
it's
really
always been
dope.
in the back of my head. I also had signed up for a cancer walk for the exact cancer that he had, but then COVID hit, so we couldn't go. And it was in Houston, and I was gonna go with my sisters, and then I was gonna continue to do it every year and maybe bring Journey one year, but COVID hits, so
yeah. Well,
that's his back.
But you know what? Even with our vacation this year, like our vacation,
oh yeah,
we went.
did.
Yeah, we went to the place that he wanted to take you. We went to the place that he had been telling you about.
And I definitely fell in love with that place, and I want to go back there again.
Yeah, me too. So just let me know.
I
Because everything he said was true. It's actually amazing, and I really like it there. If we could just not bring the kids, you know.
No, really,
I feel
next time it's just gonna be us. Yes.
I could not. If they had this Jack and Coke icy machine, and I could not properly enjoy it with my child. Okay, because I have responsibilities, but we need to go back.
Had so much stuff we would have enjoyed if it was just us two. But maybe next time.
Yeah.
But the kids loved it, though. I did love that they loved it because they had a ball. They were acting up sometimes. They had a ball. But that it was definitely another example of carry on legacy because he always wants to take us there. Always.
Yeah. Well, and I remember the whole drive because you had a fly to Fort Lauderdale, and I picked you up there, and we drove from Fort Lauderdale to Gulf Shores. And the whole drive there, you were telling me the story. You're like, no, he used to always tell me this is where they used to always go, and how, like, you told me the whole story, our whole drive. And one, that was beautiful. But like, also, it's like, okay, now, like, there is a trip you can make with your daughter that is connected to her dad. That is like, and you do that a lot. You try stuff that was important to him and incorporate her in it.
And I was trying to have a little moment with her at the beach, but she was so fascinated with the waves. Okay, mommy. Okay. Is this where I danced with him? Lady, that was at Charleston. Now I gotta take you to Charleston. It's like, nah, but you get the point. That's what I was saying. Like, I think it would be a good little Mother's Day trip for us because we actually had a good time.
We did. Different Airbnb, but yes.
Yeah, for sure.
And then next, also knowing when to get help. Coping with a loss, especially of a person, but losses of any kind, they can be hard. It can be really, really hard, especially if you're one of those people who are like, I take on everything by myself anyway, and you're the person that everybody usually leans on. You're the person that usually makes sure everybody else is good. You're the caretaker. You're that person. When you're going through grief, allow someone else to be that person for you. It is already hard enough. Sit down. Do not. I'm going to give a brief little story. I had a friend who had lost their mother, and her mother was actually still pretty young. It caught her off guard, and the whole time at the funeral, and she had everybody back to her mom's house and everything, she didn't sit down once. At the funeral, she was making sure everybody had tissues and napkins. Afterwards, when everybody was eating, she was going around checking on everybody's food. Good, thank you. Yes, I'm good. Okay, thank you. I know you were her favorite too. And then would walk and go to the next person. And then at the house, did the same thing. Was just, are you guys good? And okay, is everybody? And that's her normal world. That's her normal world in her life. She's that person to make sure everybody's okay. Is everybody comfortable? That's what she does. And it wasn't until a while later that she told me, and of course a couple of us was like, yo, sit down, let us help. And she didn't want us to. She was very insistent. No, I want to do this. And we're like, okay. And it was later that she told us, like, she really wished she would have let us help. She really wished she would have allowed herself to be weak in that moment. And she said basically it just prolonged it. And then she said she went through a period where she didn't resented everybody. She's like, and I'm crying and I'm up here asking y'all for tissue papers. And though we asked, we let her have that. We were like, we sorry. You right. We was selfish. During that time, everybody came back and had to talk about it later. We could all laugh about it. But yeah, she was really mad at herself for not allowing that and not allowing people to help, not allowing people to come cook dinner with her, not allowing people to come sit with her and watch movies with her, not allowing people to be with her on Mother's Day, which came up like a month later. Stuff
And
like
she didn't
that.
let anybody be here with her.
Mm-mm.
Mm.
She don't want anybody. And I get it because, again, some of us do like to isolate, but it's also really good to know when you need help. You can take your time and be alone, but allow someone to be there to be a support. And it doesn't have to be a friend, it doesn't have to be a spouse, it doesn't have to be a sibling. If you like, no, my role with them is this, reach out to a professional.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's really good just to have someone you can express all that anger, fear, denial, all of those different stages. This is a time where it's okay to be weak and it's okay to let other people step in and be your strength.
Yeah. But I'm gonna talk real quick too. But for me, I think this was the time that when I needed help, I was like, okay, now I kept on running from it, but that's when I was like, okay, I have to get grief counseling. Like I have to figure out where I can. People were sending me so much information. I just started looking for all these packages of things that people were saying, and I found a grief counselor. And I finally went, and that was the best thing I ever done. Like, because she actually could sit there and listen. Like, sometimes I feel like, people probably will listen to me talk about him. I feel like I just will talk about him probably too much. And I felt like I could talk about him with her and bring up memories. And that's what I was there for. She taught me breathing techniques. She taught me it was, I needed that when I needed it. And it was like the best counseling I ever had. And that was like, I never have good luck counseling, but that grief counselor, she was the bomb. And then I graduated. But yeah, like in conclusion, basically, grief is going to hit you in different kind of ways. With time, it can get better. I don't think it's ever anything that goes away, but with time, for me, it definitely has gotten better, and I know how to operate with it more. But I got through it, and I made it through, and I got to the other side, and I learned how to get through it. So I don't think it's anything that everybody can learn how to get through.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. With my grief with my brother, I'm gonna touch on two things. On the grief with my brother, I was young, and me and him were still in that bratty little sister, annoying older brother phase.
Mm-hmm.
And so during that grief, it was very complicated for me because it was my brother and I loved him and I miss him, but also that was our relationship at that time. And so it was very, very complicated for me. And I went to make sure people understand it's allow yourself to grieve even when it's complicated. There are some people in our lives that, and this is not with my brother, I'm just thinking of people who might be survivors of abuse from parents, an ex-partner that was abusive. They may have had someone that caused them severe trauma, and that person might pass, and it's very complicated. And you struggle with I'm feeling sad, but this person hurt me. I shouldn't feel sad. This person caused me an emotional death. And it is okay to grieve and have those conflicting feelings. And even if that's what it is, and it's a person who harms you in some way, if you feel like grieving, grieve. You don't have to explain nothing to nobody. Your feelings are valid, and you don't have to explain your feelings if you don't want to. And I'm saying this, I work with an individual where something like this happened, felt guilted by everybody else into not grieving. Why would you grieve them? They did all this and that. And they're like, no, this person did hurt me. This person hurt me a lot. This person caused me a lot of trauma, a lot of pain that I now have to go to therapy to work through. That made it hard for me to date. That made it hard for me to go to school. That made it hard for me to have self-esteem. But one of the things we had to work through is it's okay if you feel sad, even if that person caused you pain. You don't have to go on an emotional mode. You don't have to be a quote unquote savage. If your heart is like, this hurts still, let it hurt still. Grieve still. Allow yourself to feel that, because I think a lot of times when we think of grief, we think of grieving things that had something beautiful and happy. But sometimes we have grief that's not beautiful and that's messy and it's not straight to the point and it's all over the place and it's complicated. And that type of grief is also valid. With that type of grief, I definitely would recommend reaching out to a professional. Again, if you're like, I don't have health insurance or I can't afford the copays or whatever. First of all, see if your job has EAP, letter E as in elephant, A as in apple, P as in phone. A lot of companies have it now. A lot of companies pay for you to have a couple sessions free. Some companies are like 4 sessions. Some companies are 8 sessions that they will pay free for you a year. Check that out. Look to see if there's any free providers in your area. A lot of areas actually now provide free mental health services. It may take a while to get in, but they provide that. Also, there's a lot of therapists that do sliding scale fees. And you can type that in Google, sliding scale fee therapy, and then wherever you live. So sliding scale fee therapy Atlanta. And it will pop up therapists who will charge you based on what you can afford, essentially. So those are always options. And I hope that if anybody is grieving a grief that is messy, that is complicated, that is maybe even feels taboo, that you understand that your grief is also valid. Allow yourself to have that grief. You don't have to explain that grief to nobody. You don't even necessarily technically have to understand that grief, but allow yourself to feel it. Don't try to shun it, if harden yourself from it. If that feeling's there, it's there. With all of that, you want to do a quick check-in?
Yes. I actually took a self-care day this
Yay.
week. Yes.
You
And so I made this little
did.
cute.
You gotta post your stuff. You gotta post your stuff, guys. It's
No, you
so
can
cute.
post that on there if you like. I
Okay.
really don't mind. I encourage it.
Do you know the password yet? Because I sent it to you like 3 times.
Yes, I'll do
Okay.
it. I'll do
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Well, you'll see it when I post it. But I made like a self-care love jar, and I'm picking something out every 2 weeks. I'm going to be intentional, and I'm going to do it. I might journal it as I go or share it as I go. I don't know yet, but it's going to get done. Like, I'm going to do these things. So it's fun little things like taking myself on a date, out to eat to the movies, going on a picnic, going to a play. Like, I'm picking a new thing to do every 2 weeks for myself, by myself, to encourage self-love and to encourage me relearning myself, dating myself, loving myself. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
So I will share that with you guys. But that's the thing that I did this week. And I also had like a spa day. It was nice. And some wine. But that's enough. That was enough self-care to carry me on to check in with. So yeah, I encourage you. Like, if you see the video and it's something you might like to do, I encourage you to do it and join in if you like. So that's mine.
Good. Mine was, I don't know what mine officially was, but I think I told you guys I got a part-time job offer going back into therapy, and which is what I actually went to school for, and I've been resisting it, and I actually took it. I did my orientation today, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because I was thinking of an excuse to tell them I could not all the way to this morning. And I actually came up with some really good ones. Like, I had some really good ones planned. I'm not going to tell them because I might have to use it later. But I didn't. I allowed myself to get over my fear. And one of my biggest fears is I haven't really done a lot of clinical practice in a while. And it's hard to get back in the saddle. And it's hard building back up that confidence. Even when you know the schoolwork, even when you know the clinical terms, even when you graduated, all this stuff, it's like when you haven't done something in a while, it's nerve-wracking. And you're like, can I still do this? Do I know how to still do this? You know, I actually, as much as I joke around, like, I really care about my clients. And I never want anybody to leave my office worse off than they came in.
Yeah.
So, your mind just goes through worst case scenario. But I did. I did my orientation today. I got my email, I got my key. Um, I got one of my books that I wanted to go back over because it's like one of the best trauma books you can read. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. Anyways, it's a good book. But that's what it is. So I'm like really proud of myself because I didn't check it out, which is what I really, really want to do still. Yeah. So we're pushing forward. Also, though, for my self care, I ordered like all the stuff I need to learn how to do my nails at home. So I got a nail drill. I got some acrylic nails. I got some acrylic powder, the monomer, the brushes, nail polish, designs, oils, all that. And my nails look horrible. Got to go to work tomorrow, and there is a learning curve. Let me tell you. But I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up.
You
I'm
tried
like,
it already?
yeah, I'm gonna send you a
Oh.
picture.
Yeah,
It's not
please
a
do.
great picture. I'm gonna send it to you. So I did that though, and I was like, no, but if I can figure this out, like it saves me like
Lots of
$200 a
money.
month. Yeah. And so, but I will say my pedicures are bomb. Like my pedicures are bomb. I know how to do the pedicures really good. It's just when you're left-handed or you're right-handed, and then it's time to do that right hand, it looks very
It's hard. It's hard. Yeah.
yeah. So we're struggling, but we're gonna keep on. I'm not giving up on this. So far, all my nails are staying on. They have not popped off. So like I'm already miles ahead of where I expected to be. So that is what I will be doing for self-care.
Yes, I love it.
Yes, that and refinishing up my bedroom. I only have like two more things missing for my bedroom, and my bedroom will be complete. Well, that is it for today. We'll have a new episode for you guys next Thursday. Hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, like, subscribe, please share. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please go over to Apple Podcasts, click on our page, scroll to the bottom, and write a review. That sort of thing really helps content creators. Right now, pretty much all major platforms for content creators are making it very hard for those of us that are small and trying to grow. They're pretty much, if you already have 1 million, 2 million, 5 million subscribers, they are pushing those people down people's throat. And if you don't have a lot, when we post things like reels, they get to show us on our side how many people they show. And so sometimes we might post a reel, even though we have over 1,000 followers right now, they might only show it to 100 of our followers. Things like that. So when you share our stuff, when you like our stuff, when you write reviews, that tells the algorithm to show more. It's like people like it, so let's show this to more people. Okay, maybe let's show it to 150 people, 200 people. So the more you share, the more you show, the more you comment. Comments, especially saving them, posts especially, really, really helps us. Not just us, all your favorites, content creators, whether it's podcasts, comedy, whatever. Be sure to do those little things because they create an algorithm that's really working against small time creators, and those little things help. So other than that, we will see you guys next Thursday, and that's all. Bye.
Bye.